It's another episode of Wearable Today, episode number 50. Was it 57 or 58? Somewhere around there, 50 in the 50s. We're going to be talking about wearables that are going to cost you as little as $29. We're going to talk about Google Glass, is it dead again? And also, should some wearables be free for you and me? That's what we're going to talk about this week on your favorite Wearable Today. No dinosaur sound there. Hey everybody, Jeffrey Powers here from Geekazine, Think Magazine. Put in a geek, you've got Geekazine. Jeff at twig.tv, and I'm gonna get that email going, Jeff at wearabletoday.com, so you can email me there. And of course, that'll go over to me. And of course, my cohort in crime, the man with the bird. Well, it was on his shoulder. Where did the bird go?
She's on her way in
There
just
she
now.
goes. I want to be on camera that I am.
Yeah. So I'm Luke Wallace. My name's Luke Luca on Twitter, or you can find me on Google Plus at Plus Luke Wallace. And this is my bird.
Your human or your live wearable tech.
Yeah. I've got some live wearable tech. This is one of my birds. We call her Birdie. But she'll be crawling around on me today. She'll enjoy being out for a little bit, but you can find me down if you're watching on the lower third there, Luke at twig.tv. Again, Luke at Wearable Today shortly.
And of course, you've been kissing that bird during the pre-show here, so we got some good shots of that. So
Yeah, yeah. She is a lovable bird.
okay. All right, well, let's get into the show since the bird's not kissing him now. Let's get into big news, little arms. And of course, everything can be found over at Wearable Today, over at wearabletoday.com. And let's see, how do I do this? Let me think here. Go ahead.
First up, we've got a wearable with no lights and no display. Intrigued? It's called the Ditto from Simple Matters. It has no buttons and no switches. It's actually a little vibrating dongle, if you'll allow that term, that allows you to get notified with what you need, even if your phone is not in your pocket. The company is running a Kickstarter right now, and there's 8 days left, so check that out. And for $29, you can get the device, which can either be put in a pocket or worn as a watch. So the idea is it vibrates whenever your phone has something that you've deemed important enough to notify you. It's called the Ditto, Ditto, from Simple Matters.
All right, next up, we're going to take a look at the Asus ZenWatch. It's now on Google Play, and it's also in brick-and-mortar stores starting at about $199. The square-faced ZenWatch comes with 512 megabytes of RAM and 4 gigabyte storage capacity and uses a cradle-to-dock instead of wireless charging. You can also, like I said, you can also get it at Best Buy. There was a part where Best Buy, I thought it was $249, but I think they've changed that now. It's now $199, and we're all good. And you can check that all out at wordscanspeak.com.
Over on Engadget, we saw an article about Domino's getting into the wearable game, kind of. So if you own a Pebble watch, remember the Pebble watch that pairs with both Android and iOS, it has apps. You can get the Domino's app, which will let you know where your pizza is. Unfortunately, this app is not available for other devices just yet, but we would predict that if it's popular there, you'll probably see it coming to other wearable devices.
Yep. Hold on a second here. And all right, there we go. Sorry about that. Next up, over on PC World. By now, you might have seen, the videos where the kid wears Google Glass and it falls over the place and stuff like that. This brings us to another issue in wearables. It's called the adjustability factor. In order for sensors to take heart rates and optics to be installed on glasses, you must first have something that will fit on a wrist or hold into your head. Now, NPR has started to take a look at these at these factors and what you need to have a wearable that would maybe even grow with you, or if you are smaller or larger than the average person, that it would fit your head, your body, your hands, your feet, wherever it needs to fit, and go from there. Great article. Check it out over at npr.blogs.com.
Next up, we've got an article here from WWMT. It's about a guy named Ben Yonatan and about how he's losing his sight. So it says, as a dancer, he makes his job, well, that makes his job more difficult, obviously, losing your sight. But with Google Glass, he's actually able to regain some of that. How that works is that he only has a 4-degree field of view, but because the Google Glass optic falls into that 4-degree field, he can actually use glass and it will expand his sight by 70%, probably through basically taking the video feed from glass and displaying it in that little area. So he gets a much, much wider field of view. And I don't know if you're showing that article.
No, I'm not. Keep going.
Well, that was where the article ends. That's where
Oh,
our
okay.
little summary ends.
Okay. All right. Well, I apparently skipped over one, so I'm
You
gonna have
did.
to go back here.
I didn't know if you were skipping it on purpose or not. It's
No,
about
no.
the Mozilla one.
I just multiple things, and I just skipped right over it. And you're blue and I'm white, and for some reason I thought it was blue. So
Okay.
anyway, Mozilla is working on a VR world on its. Mozilla is working in the VR world on its 10th anniversary. What's called Moz VR. You can start tailoring your websites for virtual reality viewing, mostly for the upcoming Oculus Rift type glasses there. But Mozilla is betting on a new type of web. Yeah, exactly. A new type of web browsing. Moz VR links to GitHub, where you can download the code to get started on what will most likely be called VHTML or virtual HTML. And you can check that out. We've got the link over at pcworld.com.
And then the last one I've got is about this Huawei Talk Band. It launched in the US this week. It's a $129 device that has standard activity and sleep tracking, but also can act as a Bluetooth headset. So it disconnects from the wrist strap and you put it in your ear, and then it can be used by either iOS or Android as a Bluetooth headset. It boasts a 6-day charge when used only as an activity tracker, but claims only 7 hours of Bluetooth headset usage. So if you use it as a Bluetooth headset at all, you're going to knock down that 6-day battery life. So it's available now from gethuawei.com, newegg.com, amazon.com, and Fry's Electronics.
And then finally, there we go. Let's switch it back over. Finally, Google Glass has passed the 100 app mark, and with a few new apps such as captioning, chords, colors, and one of my favorite apps right now, Run Zombie, Run. Although I can't find any zombies to run with, so. But it's part of the whole, Google wants you to feel good because you got Google Glass, and look at all these apps that you can get for your device here. So, but you can check that out over at plus.google.com. We'll have the link in the show notes, as we do with all of them. And that does it for this messed up version of Big News, Little Arms. Oh, how's the bird doing there?
No, she's fine.
Yeah.
She's used to just kind of hanging out.
Yeah. She's just what are we doing? What are we doing here? Where's my wearable? Where's my bird wearable? Some GPS locating device that tells me my heart rate and figures out where I fly around the room.
Yeah, there are a lot of dog GPS trackers. I saw an article about the top 10 dog GPS trackers, which tells me that there's probably more than 10, which is kind of ridiculous to me. But there are no bird GPS trackers that I'm aware of. and I don't know if you could use any of the dog ones on our bird because I think they'd be a little too big. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So yeah, Kickstarter and all these VC funding things, get on that. Us bird people are, we love our birds like people love their dogs, and
Yeah.
and actually a
Well,
bird tracker makes a lot more sense because they can fly kind of anywhere, right?
anywhere, yeah. Or better yet, if you got like passenger pigeons or maybe you're a falconry
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, you can have a GPS tracker on their ankle, so
Yeah,
you can not only figure out where they are, but also you can call up a computer and say this is their flight pattern and maybe learn some stuff off of it.
yeah, I think it'd be very very useful. So.
So, what anything happened this week? Any cool wearable stuff that you've done?
So, not wearable, but for my phone, which is used by my wearable, uh, I got Lollipop on my Nexus 4, so that was kind of exciting to happen today. So big Android
Lolly,
upgrade.
you gotta say it like this. Lollipop. Oh, boom.
Boom boom.
No, no, okay.
No, no.
I like lollipop. Boom, boom, boom.
Lollipop, lollipop, oh la 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 lollipop.
Lollipop, lollipop. Oh, all right. How about
I can't
lollipop?
do it. Yeah. So I got that. That's pretty neat. I've been trying that out, and it's been pretty good. I
Yeah.
don't love every change that they're making, but yeah, I know. But there's a lot of stuff that I really, really like in the new updates. So
Neither did Birdie apparently.
no, no,
Yeah.
there were a couple of things she didn't like.
Okay.
I
What?
think
What?
she can tell when I'm upset.
Okay. Well, I tried to. I actually haven't gotten lollipop on my Nexus 5 yet. I downloaded it onto the laptop. I've been thinking about putting it on and doing the install, but
Yeah.
it's got to find the time to sit there and do that.
Yeah, and then I think you have to wipe the device if you do that. So it's like
Yeah.
if you wait for the over the air, then it'll just update, keep all your apps on there. So it's like, it's pretty easy to update when that update does roll out. Like,
Well,
yes, thanks, done.
because of the fact that this is a brand new, well, refurbished phone because of the smashed one last week.
Mm,
It would be a perfect time to do something like that. It's all backed up
mm,
anyway, and I know all the apps I need to download, but. Yeah, and then I'm also waiting. The Xperia came out today, so and I think that was just the Xperia phones.
mm.
Hopefully, I'll be able to get it for my tablet soon.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but and no photos, no nothing on there.
Not in the last week. It's been getting cold here in the Dallas area. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Well, it's
sorry, you
gotten
were
cold for
serious.
us. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gotten cold for us. Sorry. It has gotten down to freezing. It's the first time it's ever snowed on November 16th. That was a fun little fact. It technically got a few little flurries last night. So, yeah, it's definitely cold for here.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to warm up into the 60s by the end of the week. So,
Oh, geez. Okay. It's like 9 degrees with a wind chill of 20. I just put up all the plastic on the windows, so it's
yeah,
it's all
that's
good. It's all good.
yeah,
So.
that's pretty cold.
But what I did do was I took out the GoPro and I did some. I tried to. I hooked it up to the shovel, and I wanted to see what it looked like shoveling.
Oh, really?
So I got some video of that I'm gonna post up. But as for wearables, for me nothing. Not too much this week. It was pretty low end week. Gearing up for in 2 weeks I'll be going to Barcelona, Spain. Which, speaking of show notes, in a couple weeks we got one. We'll have one more episode next week, and then the week after I'm going to Spain. So, and that's a 6 hour difference. So
Mm.
if we were to do a show, it would be like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, no, not gonna happen.
Yeah. So, plus I'm doing some other stuff. I'm debating whether I should take my Google Glass. What do you think, Luke? Should I take the glass to Barcelona?
Ooh, you'd probably get a lot of pictures there. But I think we were talking about this last week, just the bulk of trying to take it with you. It takes up a lot of space, unfortunately. And the bag, you can kind of throw it in there, and the battery life isn't great, so it's not like if you use it all day to take, you can't really use it all day to take pictures. So,
Yeah.
I and then there's the whole international thing. Like, what if something happens to it it's
Yeah. Maybe I can get a pair of international Google Glass. Nah, I don't know.
yeah. So I don't
But
know. I'd be tempted to probably leave it behind just because there's the whole traveling aspect and then being internationally and trying to keep up with it.
yeah.
But
Okay. Well, something to think about it. I haven't made
yeah,
a final decision yet.
yeah,
I've got a week, and I'm going to start packing for it next week. Mostly
yeah,
video gear, which is the more important thing because we'll be doing some interviews, and I'll be
yeah,
taking a lot of video
yeah.
in Spain because this is the first time I'll be there. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
So.
Make sure to take that GoPro then. Like
Oh
that
yeah,
that seems like a no-brainer on taking that.
yeah. This fits in a bag. It's almost got zero footprint when it
Yeah,
comes to
it's crazy that it's pretty much easier to pack than glass, even though glass is like technically lower volume. It's such an awkward thing, more cumbersome.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, speaking of which, let's get into our. Well, we'll talk about glass and the main subject, glass is dead again. But first of all, we want to talk a little bit more about an article that I read over at fastcodedesigns.com. And this article, it's actually not. It really makes you think about it. It's like the C. It's basically the CCO Hans Newbert of Frog Design basically says, and to a point, hey, we've got all these wearable devices that's collecting your data, putting all this data together, so you can become the foremost expert on sleep habits, or the foremost experts on exercise, or the form whatever the situation is here, and that data over time might be worth it for their dollar price tag. Put a free price tag onto some of these devices, and in some ways, I totally understand where he's going. Now, you're never going to get an Apple iWatch or an Apple Watch, excuse me, or let alone a gold Apple Watch, $5,000 watch for free. And there's definitely going to be devices. And that also goes with your phones. I mean, yeah, you can get yourself a free iPhone, but that free iPhone is 2 years out in technology. But you can get it. It's free technically with your 2-year contract, which
Yeah,
is not free, but
not
it's
free.
free.
Yeah,
Yeah. So all in all, it's this question of where does the money allocation really go into it, especially if your device needs a service and you end up paying a few dollars a month for this service. Instead of buying a $300 device and then a continuing service, why not add that into the service and go from there? So lots of different stuff. And I know, Luke, you said that you had some big opinions on this article. So go for it.
yeah,
Run it down.
yeah. Well, I definitely agree with his premise that the data that is being collected through all these wearables is valuable. I think everyone understands that from a personal standpoint. And like you were talking about kind of before the show, saying, aggregate and, collecting all this data. If you have a million users, so you think of, Fitbit or something where they might have a million people that have Fitbits. And if you can take all of that information, it becomes really valuable to scientists maybe studying certain sleep habits, even marketers knowing like when are most people awake, when do people go to sleep, those kind of things. Like it could become very valuable from a lot of different standpoints. But I guess what my take on it is I don't think that it's valuable enough to offset the entire cost of that device. Basically, a $250 device, it's unlikely that a single person is going to generate $250 in value. Now, I think you just raised a good point, which is a lot of the times these activity trackers and different devices have services that go along with them. And so I think if they really want to encourage it, they should make those services as free as possible. So like
Yeah.
uploading your data and tracking your own data is free for every user, and that way the company can collect that data, assuming the people opt in. That raises the whole other issue of a lot of people would say, I don't want these companies to have that kind of personal information on me.
Yeah.
I want them to track it for me, but not to share it with anyone else because it's valuable and I'm not getting paid for it. So I think there's a few options there for how they can kind of give that value. The the contract idea is kind of interesting. It's like, what if you could pay, if you could pay $3 a month for a fitness tracker,
Yeah.
and other people had to just pay $200 outright for it? Would you just, I'll just pay three, I'll agree to a 5-year contract, and it's like
Well, let's
maybe.
yeah, let's look at it this way. I mean, AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint, all I think T-Mobile does this as well. You can go buy your iPad outright for 500, $600, or you could go and get their lease versions for $30 a month, and then every year you could upgrade to the latest iPhone or iPad or whatever. I don't know if they're doing it with smartwatches. I don't know if they've got that with the Samsung devices. I know that they were doing some promotion with the LG the LG is it what the third version
The
phone
G
where
Watch. Oh,
G
the
G
phone.
G3 that's
Yeah,
it.
the G3. Yeah.
And then they gave you, I think they gave you a watch with that. I'm not sure the promotion. I just saw it today on
Yeah.
passing by on Facebook. But these are things, especially now with a lot of these watches, which they're getting very specific. It's like if you don't have a Samsung phone, you don't get to use our Samsung watch. If you don't have iPhone, you don't get to use the Apple Watch. I mean, you can use
Hmm.
it, but it's just a watch.
Yeah.
So they're getting very specific on that. Now, going back to the data for a second, there's a lot of data that they're getting right now and they don't track. We've seen this before in other areas where all of a sudden tons of data just starts coming in and they don't know how to use it. They know the specifics of the reason why they started tracking the data, but all of a sudden this extra stuff just started coming in. It's just like, oh my goodness, information overload. And many people have said there's still a lot of data that comes in that we don't track, we don't put together, that could become very useful. And I think with wearables, that's going to be the same thing. Getting into kind of a more creepier situation, you could start doing wearable stalking. Especially if celebrities start wearing wearable devices, and but on the other hand, you can find out, you can map to the stars how they got to the set, how they got back, what they did while they made that feature film, and sell, and then take all that data out there and go, here it is. So
Yeah.
this is the type of data that I think in 5 years people will start to get a hold of and start going, okay, what's this? What's this? How can we use this? How can we use this? And then next thing you know, yeah, that one night's worth of sleep becomes a whole host of valuable information. From maybe we'll move from a pay cable situation to the fact that if you're in your bed, if I go to my bed at night and I lie down, I want it to be on NBC to watch the Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and all of a sudden, poof, it's up on the TV with ads that pretty much are tailored to what I did for the day and how I worked through that. So I think that's where the value really starts to come in, and I think that's where he's going with all that. Your wearable should be technically free.
And maybe you could convince me of a free wearable if the user has proven that they are good at collecting the data. So imagine this, like you have a Fitbit, let's say, just 'cause to talk about, and you've used it for 5 years, and Fitbit is like, we know, like they have enough data to know that after 5 years, you're probably going to throw this thing away, or, there's going to be enough new stuff out there and you're going to get it.
Hmm.
What if they proactively said, we'll just send you a new one for free because you're such a great user? Because they know that if you've done it for 5 years, you'll probably do it for five more. And they could basically kind of give you the discount on the back end after they've already gotten a lot of data from you, and they like, okay, we know this guy's valuable, let's give him another free one, because otherwise he might go to the Apple Watch, he might go to something else, and it's like, let's give him one of those, or give him a huge discount for like, $50 you can get a brand new one and it's normally 200, and something like, it might be real tempting. And then you would keep people in your ecosystem, because that's the other thing is, it's not valuable data unless they actually have it. Like if you
That's true.
collect it and then you upload it all into HealthKit on iOS or Google Fit on the Android side,
Yeah.
uh, like they won't have that data, and then you won't be valuable to them at all. You'll be valuable to Google, you'll be valuable to Apple, but you won't be valuable to Fitbit. So I think keeping you in their ecosystem is important enough, and so you'll probably see a lot of, like, most of the services I think are free, but you'll probably see them all make sure that it's free data and like try to make it where it integrates so that you'll use their ecosystem so they can collect that data. And they'll basically say, well, if you want it to be free, you have to make sure we have access to it so we can sell it or use it however we want to.
Exactly. They could definitely be. I don't want to make it sound Big Brotherish or anything like that, but yeah, they could definitely say, hey, if you want it for free, all you have to do is wear it on your wrist all the time. So if like if I was doing a show like this and they're watching the show and it's like, hey, there's nothing on his wrist. Wait a minute, we better check that and and come back and say, wait, you need to really be wearing that stuff while you're doing the show. And
Yeah.
if we could get into that realm, but I don't. I kind of see that happening, but I also kind of don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Where somebody would just look and say, "Hey, out of all the Facebook photos, you're not wearing your device that we gave you because we gave you a device. We're really nice. We're giving you a device and you're not
Yeah.
even wearing it." So,
Yeah. I
uh,
think the issue is if they're going to give you the device like he proposes, they have to be getting the value out of it.
exactly.
And because those devices are not super cheap to make, I mean, besides the one that we kind of talked about today for like 29 bucks, like there they could maybe do some promotion where they give it to you just to, try to collect the data on it. But yeah, I think it's just if they don't know they're going to get the value out of it, it's really hard for them to just give it to you.
What would be? How hard would it be for somebody to take, let's say, an old Razor phone from 2006 that has a camera in it and everything like that, and be able to take out the insides, put it together and fashioning it together as a wearable device, not as big as the Razor phone, kind of cut it down and stuff like that, and then getting to this point is, or this question is, more to the point, if somebody can do that with an old phone like that, how, what would be the cost to actually make something with all the technology that was in that same 2006 phone and make something that was very affordable? So,
I don't know. Maybe I think I missed you there for a second on what the question was. Is it just like how valuable can it be, or could you repurpose like old technology and get the same?
well, I more to the point, taking because Google Glass is technically 2 years out of date.
Sure.
With being able to take that older technology, which is a lot cheaper to make
Hmm.
nowadays, and put together a wearable that it's sub $100, but still does a great job with GPS, with Bluetooth, even though it might not be low energy, and put a newer battery on it or something like that, and sell it that way for, like I said, the sub $100 point, and even anything under maybe $75 might just be worth it to give away.
It's true. There's definitely some market. I think if you could find the right users, it would probably be good. Like if you could give it away to people that are, with a gym membership or something, and basically say, hey, if you're already getting this membership, here's a free whatever to help track it. And so you're getting the data from people that are more likely going to give you back the data that you want. Like as the current one, but it might be cheap enough that they could just give it away. So there might be something there.
Okay. For some reason, we're having some. At least I'm having some connection in issues.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know if I've frozen or not, but I know you've frozen a couple times. Nothing more than a second. So if we do
yeah.
have some freezes, apologies there. It's as best as the internet connection is from one point A to point B, as fast as its slowest connection. That's what I normally say. I know
Hmm.
I turn off all the extra stuff here. There might be some computer trying to update software or something, or maybe a
Yeah.
node that's failing somewhere in the line there. So, but anyway, we actually do have a question in the question and answer, believe it or not, which you can go over to the question and answer area. It's more of a comment, and the comment is: take it with you. I went to Barcelona and it was great. it is accepted. That's Victor Capon. And it's not the fact of it being accepted. I'm not expecting somebody to walk up and rip them off of my head by any means. It's more the fact of just taking them from here in where I live, which is
Madison, Wisconsin.
okay, and then taking them to Barcelona, Spain, and that because they don't fold down. They don't fold down. I'll be wearing them on my head all the time for the most part, except when I go through security, which I'll put them in the bag and I'll and let them run through the scanner thing. And so that's not really the big issue. But when it comes to wearing it all the time and not having a place to put them down, fold them up, and put them in a pocket when you need to, sometimes it's a pain. And there's been a couple. Last year I was in CES, and we were walking in the Monster booth, and I had to take my pair of Google Glass off, and I didn't have the bag with me, and I had to take them off because they said that they wouldn't let me go in because they had stuff that was still under embargo. We couldn't even report about it until like 2 days later or something like that. So I don't want to not be let in somewhere simply because I got these on. So, but thanks for the comment there, Victor. Thank you for watching the show. Appreciate it very much. If you got a question, we've got the question and answer section right there for that, and go from there. Hey, I guess we got up to our next subject here. Are we? Let me think here. I've got too many ladles in the pot. All right. Speaking of Google Glass, we've been seeing this for the last 24 hours, and in fact, if you were up on my Facebook page, I wrote an article on a little Facebook post on that. We're seeing developers leave. We're seeing glass release dates get pushed back yet again. Support for the device is being reduced. Their support staff, they're cutting some of their staff. And even all of this, Google still holds the fact that they're going to have a release date, even though they just pushed it back to later in 2015. Still 2015, so that's good. They said 2014 we were supposed to have it by about now. That didn't happen. But it seems to keep getting farther and farther and farther away, and a lot of people are starting to give up on it, and a lot of people are starting to sell their Google Glass on eBay, on Craigslist, and all that other stuff. And it's really starting to make people wonder: is Google Glass actually on its last steps? Is it finally dead, or where is it going on there? So, Luke, I'll let you start out on this. This is a very big topic for us because we started this show on the basis of, and unfortunately, we also move things around because of the news of Google Glass was starting to stagnate. So, with all that said, Luke, why don't you give me your thoughts here?
Yeah. So I guess I'm a little offended that they didn't mention us in there. Like even the top-rated Google Glass podcast, changed to a wearable podcast, so that's a little offensive, but, that kind of joking, but I'm thinking like, well, they could have referenced that as something else too. But, yeah, we've been talking about this for a few weeks. If you've been watching the show, even before we made the change, you noticed that we would go weeks without any sort of significant news. It was just a lot of little articles here and there about glass and, interesting stuff, but you could tell it was really slowing down. The past few months has really, really started to slow down. I would also add that another thing they didn't mention was how the main developer advocate at Google itself, Timothy Jordan, he went from being the glass developer relations, engineer to being the Android Wear Android engineer, for developer relations. So basically the public face of Google Glass within Android, or within Google, switched to being the Android Wear public face. So that's a big change. It tells me that maybe Glass isn't big enough on its own anymore.
Yeah.
The other sign that I saw was back at I/O, they, we kept, if you go back and you watch some shows before I/O, we kept saying, they're going to probably do something at I/O, or we're waiting on a big announcement. And they didn't say anything about Glass itself. What they did talk about was Android Wear, and they said, we got this new thing. It's awesome. It's amazing. It works with notifications. It lets you see things at a glance and reply to them. And you're like, these all sound like things that Glass does. And yet it's not Glass, it's Android Wear, and it goes on your wrist. And so it was a big change there. And so that was, I think, in my mind, kind of the beginning of the end of Glass. I still don't think that Glass is gone. I don't think Glass is quite dead yet. But it seems like it's really just in this limbo state until they decide, is it just going to die, or I think we both kind of hope that it'll come back as a new version that'll be more Android Wear, or it'll be some other form factor, and maybe they just kill it off completely. But
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I really think that it'll come back. It will become, they might just hold on till Google I/O 2015 to come out and say, Google Glass is now Android Wear Glass, or Wear Glass. Wear Glass actually makes sense. You can have a whole hashtag on it, Wear Glass hashtag. You can have Wear Glass. Maybe we should get wearglass.com right now, and if somebody doesn't have it, and go from there. But there's a lot of signs. And I've talked to a couple companies that have had Glass apps out there, and they've just been saying, we started to do this as a business. We didn't see where we could actually make money off of this business, so we threw all our stuff on GitHub. You can still download the app, but we're not actively working on it. The article says that there's 16 Glass apps that they've contacted and have totally admitted that they've abandoned their Glass app efforts to do something else. And on the same aspect, they talked about the Glass Collective, which is a venture fund backing Glass apps, has also gone away. They've stopped doing it, or of some sort. So it's interesting to see the direction on that. And really, it's the shipmates are abandoning the ship and leaving the passengers to hit the iceberg at this point, and the captain's not seeing the iceberg, and it's just going to be a really bad mess when it boils down to when they say we're done with Google Glass and go from there. And I think it's going to definitely take some points off of Google's karma as well.
Yeah, I think people are going to the haters are going to hate. And they're going to say, sorry, distracted myself. The haters are going to hate, and they're going to say, see, Google always kills things, and you can never trust them, and they put out stuff. And it's like, well, that's not exactly true, because they do put out a lot of stuff, and they do kill things off that people love. I still miss Google Reader. Bring it back, Google. Just bring it back.
But on that same aspect, I do a daily tech history show. I can tell you, there's probably like 3 things that Yahoo put into existence that's no longer into existence.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing is the haters are going to say, oh, see, Google kills off everything you love, and it's like, well, every company kills off things, especially if they're not popular, or they can't figure out a business model or something. It's like, like things are gonna die, and it's a circle of life,
And the reality is, Glass is not gonna die. It's not gonna be dead by any means. I mean, Google's definitely got some data now for companies and using Glass in different, such as Virgin Galactic, such as KFC in their study we talked about last week. McDonald's is doing a study right now if Google Glass would be a better thing, to where if this becomes the next cash register and you don't have a counter space, you've got a guy just standing there going, what do you want to eat? Cross my arms. Yeah. But you get the idea. So they're saying, well, what do you want? And they say, oh, I want a hamburger and fries. And you go, hamburger, fries, that'll be $6.22, whatever the price is, and poof, you do that, and this is where their register will be. Or you'll have a guy behind the line and they'll say, okay, we need 6 hamburgers, and it'll come up on their glass 6 hamburgers, and you'll tap like that, and it'll go through all the steps of making the hamburger every single time, which a lot of these companies want that in front of your face. So you do it right, so they don't get any lawsuits. They end up being able to make more money off of the whole thing. And KFC has already found that this is having glass in closing preparations could save them a lot of money. So on that aspect, Google Glass won't go away. But and in all reality, Google Glass will not go away. It'll just go into exactly the next stage of Google Glass. Did she take off the earpiece there?
I think she chewed through the little earbud line, so now I can't hear out of my right side.
Yeah, I was watching. She was going after that a few times when you were talking. I was hoping.
Yeah.
I was really worried about your ear for a second there.
Yeah. No. So one thing I want to point out is that we would probably not have Android Wear if it was not for Google Glass.
Exactly.
Like they learned so much from Glanceable and notifications and how to, how do you show somebody information from their phone in a way that they can process really quickly? And so I don't think you would have Android Wear without Google Glass. And you know what else that means? You wouldn't really have the Apple Watch without Google Glass. I think that you saw the Pebble and you saw some other ones like kind of try to do it, but until like Google really got it right with Android Wear, I feel like Apple would not have they wouldn't have known what to do on the Apple Watch. I think people were saying they should have done Apple Watch years ago, but I don't think they would have happened. I mean, that's my opinion, is that it took Google Glass to kind of get it right, or at least get it close enough that they said, okay, Android Wear, we can do this one more time, and we're going to fix everything in Glass.
Yeah.
Let's do it as Android Wear. And then Apple's like, we're going to fix some of that stuff too, and we're going to, and they're going to come out with the Apple Watch.
Yeah. Well, it's also competition. I mean, I don't see the relations that Apple Watch wouldn't have been Apple Watch if it wasn't for Android Wear. But, the competition is there to come out with something bigger, better, brighter. It's no different than the turn of the century when Intel and AMD were making processors every single day that was faster than the other, and trying to take that top spot. So, but yeah, I definitely, the competition was fueling for both Android Wear and for Apple Watch. So,
yeah, definitely pushing both sides to pushing everybody to try to make their stuff better.
exactly. So your headset's completely fried now.
Yeah. She chewed through it enough. I'll have to either open it up and solder it a little bit or do something. But yeah, that's the joys of having a bird, I guess.
Wearable bird techna to having one. So
Definitely a use case they weren't expecting, I'm
that's
sure.
true. Anything you want to add to this last article, or do you think we've?
No, I think we're good. I think we talked about it. So yeah, I'm not going to stop wearing it. I think it'd be great if when they do decide to, put the nail in the coffin or relaunch it as Glass 2.0 with, Android Wear, like you said, Wear Glass, hashtag Wear Glass. It would be, I think that would be, that'll be the time that I might move on to something else. Maybe sooner. It kind of depends on where they take Glass. I'm finding the watch is definitely doing a good job of replacing as my wearable. One day I'll use the watch as the wearable, and I go back and forth. And taking the pictures is really nice. It's really, really handy. But if I had to live without that, I think I could. So
Yeah, and it looks like wearglass.com is available on Google Auctions right now.
Oh.
So it lapsed on 10/18/2014. So if anybody is at Google going, well, maybe we should try this wearglass.com, go for the domain, go get it now. All right. Well, that does it for this week's episode of Wearable Today. I always want to say this week in Google Glass. I don't want to let that go. I don't want to let it go. It was a great brainchild, and it still is. It still is. But Wearable Today, it's also a great brainchild. So we're going to do a lot more to keep things going with you. And Luke, why don't you tell them all about your wearable devices and where they can get a hold of you?
So if you're looking for me, you can email me here at luke@twig.tv. It's twigg.tv. You can also find me on Twitter at LukeLuca. That's LUKA. And on Google Plus at +Luke Wallace.
And where can they find your bird? Do you have like a Twitter handle for him or her?
No, I don't have a Twitter handle for Birdie. I don't know. That'd be a good joke account, I guess. I probably need to set up.
There you go.
Tweet me, hashtag Birdie, and
Actually, I think it should be hashtag Luke's bird, LUKE
hashtag Luke's bird,
BIRD, yeah.
Hashtag Luke's bird.
Luke's bird, yeah.
Yeah, you can that she likes to eat next time, and we can see what the see what the bird likes. And there is a YouTube series that she stars in. I haven't filmed any videos in years.
Really?
It's called Will Birdie Eat It? It gets a lot of comments because Birdie likes to eat lots of things that you might not expect.
Yeah, like headphones.
Yeah, headphones. Will Birdie eat it? Yes, she will. Yes, she will.
All right. Well, now we know that, and we had that special episode of Will Birdie Eat It, and last week Luke said, I always heard the bird in the background, and I said, Luke, you should just have the bird. If it just sits on your shoulder, just let it sit for the show, and she's done a great job in just hanging out there.
Yeah, she just likes hanging out with people.
Yeah,
and so she's been in our family for a long time, 97 or 98. So 15 years, like probably
16
at least.
years.
Yeah, 16 years.
Sweet 16 for her.
Not all those times living with me, but past few years she's been living with me. So yeah.
There you go. All right, living La Vida Birdie or something like that. Anyway, you can find me over at Geekazine, Think Magazine, Put in a Geek, Jeff at twig.tv. I'll get the emails, Jeff at wearabletoday.com. So you can send the emails there. I'd like to thank Victor for coming on to the questions and answers area and helping me out with the Barcelona thing. But yeah, definitely in the show notes. We're gonna have a show next week. 2 weeks I will be in Spain, looking at the rain in the plains or something like that, and go from there. So, but we will be back next week with another episode of Wearable Today. Luke, thank you very much for joining me once again.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you guys have a great one, safe one. I know the cold weather's catch up, and so go wear your wearables and stay warm, because it is cold. So thanks a lot for watching. You guys geek out and take care on this episode of Wearable Today.